All right, and welcome back to another Data System Chiefs course video. We are on Lab 6. We're almost at the end. So Lab 6 is going to cover creating that VSAN, that Virtual Storage Area Network. Our objective in this lab is we're going to create and we're going to configure a 2-node VSAN cluster. So let's jump right into it. So the first task we're going to do is we're going to deploy what's called the witness appliance. So if you remember early on how we are within this VMception where we're running ESXi on top of virtualized ESXi, well, we're going to do the same thing here. So the virtual vSAN witness server is another ESXi box that we're going to run as a VM inside of our cluster that we just created. So what we're going to do is we're going to populate the media into our virtual machine, and we're going to have this OVA, and we're going to copy that to our desktop. The reason we do that is instead of having to try to run it off a storage network of somewhere and have more latency in configuring it, it's within our virtual environment, and it should go a little bit faster in configuring. Once it's sitting on your desktop, get back into your vSphere environment. So in the vSphere client, we're going to right click on our LSM host. So that's our ESXi03. Right click on that, and we're going to deploy this OVF template. So if you have your template sitting on a network share of some sort, you can browse to the URL, but because we put that on the desktop, we're just going to highlight this local file, upload files, and then we have the OVA right here. Go ahead and click open. Should open up this green next. Go ahead and click next. Now we're going to name it. We're not going to name it this weird long name. We're going to go our student number, mu, wit, app. So our witness appliance. Place it inside that data center. Make sure we're using the 03 for our compute resource. It's going to take a second to load the video. All right. So the OVF contains advanced configuration. We're just going to next through this. Here's our standard license agreement. Go ahead, check that box, click next. In configuration, please don't use medium. We're just going to use a handful of VMs, so we're going to do the tiny configuration. We're going to put that in our services data store. Be careful. Be careful. I almost clicked next. I didn't look. I wasn't reading my lab. But right here where it says select virtual disk format, we're not going to thick provision this. Nope, what we're going to do is we're going to thin provision that because then that's only going to use a little bit of the storage, just what it needs. Next, right here where it's asking for management. So our management network is going to be our infrastructure, and our secondary network is going to be our VSAN port group that we just created. Next. Right here, you can configure all of this, or we'll configure it later. So right here, it's saying that there's something wrong. So we're putting in our Marine's password. It's going to be the root account. Think of it like we were just installing our ESXi host. We're going to leave this as normal for secondary. We're going to configure all of this. So our management network, the IP address of that is going to be 172.18. Our student number 14. Subnet mask is going to be that /25 that we have. And our gateway is going to be that first IP address. Our DNS domain is going to be mu.usmc.mil. Our witness host name is going to be that 12 mu wit app. Our DNS server is going to be that first domain control that we have. And our NTP server is going to be the same thing. And then our secondary network is going to be that VSAN network. So 172.18, your student number, .204. We're going to be using that /27. And then our gateway is going to be 193. Go ahead and click next. Go ahead and click finish. As you can see down here, it's going to import and it's going to be deploying that OVF. It's going to take a minute. I'm going to bring this screen up so as you can see those progress bars as it's deploying. As you can see, it has deployed and it has imported the OVF package. And you see our virtual machine sitting right here. Next step we're going to do is we're going to click this cool little power button and we're going to turn that baby on. What this is think of this as another ESXi host, but it's a virtual machine. As you're waiting for it to turn on, just like anything, you can go ahead and click that launch web console. Just like I have my Windows, it's going to bring up in here. And as you see, it looks like just another ESXi box. We're going to let this baby load up. As you see now, just like we are logged into here, we should be able to view the IP address or even the host name that we created. UWIT app. Oops. USMC.mil. Boom. Should give us that privacy error. Connection is unsecure. Root. And here we go. There we go. This is our witness appliance. This is going to conclude task 1. Task 2, what we're going to do is we're going to come back here into our main menu, and we're going to create another data center. We're going to create one specifically for the witness appliance. So we're just going to come up here to our vCenter. We're going to right click, new data center, and we're going to name this baby 12, or our student number, mu witness data center. Go ahead and press OK. And then just like we did in the past, we're going to right click on that. We're going to add host, 12 mu wit app, or your student number. Go ahead and click next. Give it that username and password. Click next. It's going to give you that security alert like in the earlier labs. Click yes. Because there's no virtual machines, we're good there. I'm going to click next right here. We're going to leave that license because that's the license that comes installed in here. Click next. Same thing like earlier. We're not going to put this baby in lockdown mode. There's no VMs, and we're just going to finish that up. And as you see now, if you come down here into the data center, it's going to log in and it's going to look exactly like we have up here. Give that a minute. I'll come right back. All right, so now that we have that witness appliance added into our cluster, we are good. That completes task 2. Now what we're going to do is we're going to roll into task 3. And in this task, what we're going to do is in our first 2 ESXi hosts, we're going to mark all those hard drives. So if you looked at it when we were building it out before, there's like 6 or 8 hard drives in there. So we're going to mark those hard drives as flash drives. The purpose of this is to kind of create that all flash array, which requires flash disks to accomplish. This is going to allow you to configure those disks as caching or capacity drives. And in a production environment, you're going to want to actually use flash disks. So most of the ASMs, those disks are set up as flash already. And so you can do this inside of your ASMs when you're back at your units. But so we're going to navigate to that first ASM host. So ESXi 01. We're going to come over here to your configure tab. I'm going to bring this window down just a little bit so we can get in there. And then what we're going to navigate to is storage right here and our storage devices. I'm sorry that this window doesn't get bigger. It's very hard within my window. But what you're going to do is, I like to do this. There's a million ways to skin a cat. You can come through here and any hard drive that has 100 gig capacity, you're going to want to select those hard drives. So there is one. You should have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should 5 per host. Make sure they're selected, and you're going to come right here and you're going to click mark as flash. Marking these could deteriorate the performance. Because we're testing this out, that's fine. Go ahead and click yes. And you're going to see right here that this flash type, or this drive type, is changing to flash now. See, they're all now flash. Now we're going to repeat those steps here on ESXi 02. So if you click on that and it doesn't bring you right here, of course, browse back up here to this tab, configure, storage devices. I'm going to show you another way to do this. You can literally do this, select all of those. And if you do that, you're going to see that that mark as flash doesn't show up because we have this 22 gig hard drive right here, which is where your ESXi is stored. You could uncheck that. Then you can just drag this down a little bit further, and this is that CD-ROM. You check that, and look, now it all shows up. I'm going to mark these at flash. Once we are done with this, we are going to come over here to our witness appliance, and we're going to do the same thing. but we're only going to do on this appliance, there's 3 hard drives. There's a 10 gig, a 12 gig, and a 15 gig. We're going to leave this 12 gig. That's the one where the ESXi is stored on there. We're going to select the 15 gig and the 10 gig. Oh, 10 gig is already selected as flash. So we're going to make this 15 gig. We're going to mark this as the flash drive. If you read my note, it may have to be marked separately. And that, my friends, that will finish task 3. Task 4, we're going to verify our VM kernel networking. So for each of our ASM hosts, we're going to navigate. So you're going to click on one of your hosts, come over here to configure, come down here to networking and VM kernel adapters. And you're going to see right here, here's the VSAN service, and you see it's not enabled. To enable that, we're going to click these 3 little awesome dots. We're going to come over here to edit. And you're going to see now that we have this VSAN service right here. Go ahead and press OK. We're going to make sure our IPs are correct. Our TCP/IP stacks are good. Make sure all this information is good. We're going to do the same thing right here for this VSAN. Edit VSAN. We're going to verify vMotion service enabled adapter. Except with the exception of our VSAN adapter here on our LSM host, we're going to make sure that everything is correct over here. So now we're going to come down here to our witness appliance. Try to make sure our VM kernels are configured according to our sheet. So when you're coming into here, make sure right here on both of these adapters that your VLAN ID is set to 0. That's very big for this witness appliance. Once you have verified that all of your settings are correct, we will move into task 5. Task 5, that's going to be enabling and configuring this VSAN. Here we go. Here's the meat and potatoes. So what you're going to do is you're going to come back, as we're still in your environment, you're going to come back here to your VSAN cluster. You're going to select it, and you're going to come over here to the Configure tab. Note, before enabling VSAN, please, you can temporarily disable this HA. So come here, click Edit. Change that to the gray box. Make sure this baby says off. Because what this will do is this will prevent, like if you were in a production environment trying to do this, this would prevent any virtual machines from migrating off of hosts and potentially corrupting those and then making you have to rebuild those. Now what we're going to do is we're in configure right here in the center. We're going to navigate all the way down to the bottom and we're going to click services right here. VMware vSAN uses a software-defined approach that creates shared storage for virtual machines. So it's going to make it seem like there's one storage appliance and your virtual machines can migrate wherever they need to at the end of the day. What we're going to do right here in the big button in the center, we're going to configure this baby. So for what we're going to do here is we're going to do a 2-node VSAN cluster. So 2 hosts at one site and a witness host at another site. So that's why we have the 2 data centers. We're going to select that and we're going to click Next. We're going to review all these available services, but we're not going to make any changes. Go ahead and click Next. And we're going to claim these disks. In the claim, you're going to group by hosts. And then what we're going to do for each one of our hosts, so as you see, I have host 1 and host 2, we're going to claim the very first one, you need 1 cache tier. And then the rest is going to be capacity. So just to make everything good, I always take that first one and I make her cache, and then the rest of them, I make them capacity. That way I don't screw up. And as you can see, all of your drive types are flash. So go ahead and click Next. Select the witness host. So we're going to come here, we're going to come into our witness data center. We're going to select that host. You want to make sure this compatibility check succeeds. Go ahead and click Next. Now this is for our witness host. In our witness host, we're going to select our 10 gig. So select a single disk for the cache tier. We're going to select our 10 gig, and then that only leaves us this option for a 15 gig for the flash. Go ahead and click Next and Finish. View, complete the VSAN, and then at this point, now that we have this done, you can set HA back up, but let's wait and we're going to watch all these progress bars. We're going to make sure that they complete before we do that. So note of this, you should take the time. We can go into Monitor, VSAN, and Health, and we're going to check the VSAN cluster and view any warnings that occur. You may likely receive an alert about max component size, which you may find out how to fix by clicking the Ask VMware button in the upper right hand. So, but as you can see, we're at 20%, 70% right here. You can do this right here, and then you can kind of see all the progress bars as they go. Now that it seems like it's been working for a minute, I'm going to come in here. We're going to go to Monitor, and we're going to monitor the VSAN health. So Monitor, scroll down here all the way. Click Health here. Make this window just a little bit smaller. We're going to check all these. See, it's fine. We're not using Insight. Disk format. running into a problem now with our disks.